Hello and welcome to the first topic which we discuss in human rights after the introductory lectures, and that is on ragging. Now, ragging is a very sensitive issue and it has been banned by the Supreme Court of India in 2001 for all the educational institutions. And ragging used to create a havoc during those days, and it was felt that it is a very inhuman practice. So it was completely banned and it was taken off from the educational institutions. So we will see that how it is related to human rights and what are the issues pertaining to this field. But before we discuss about all these things, I will be taking around 2 lectures on this. I will be breaking them into around 20-25 minutes duration. So the first thing which we will like to discuss is what is ragging. Uh, any verbal or physical or mental abuse of an individual by another individual is considered as ragging. As per the Supreme Court of India's decision 2001, ragging has been considered as a human rights violation, and therefore it was completely banned from the educational institutions. And ragging is also known as hazing in a lot of countries. Usually this practice is in between, say, the freshmen, that means the first year students, and sophomores, that is the second year students. So sophomores used to rag these freshmen who are the say the new entrants of the college. Usually college and universities will have ragging, but there were instances of ragging in school as well. Now, what used to happen is that they were verbally abused. A lot of slangs were used against them. They were also physically beaten. In fact, it ranged to even rapes, molestation, and so on. And they were also mentally tortured. So these activities were completely banned by the by the Supreme Court for the educational institutions. Now, this is the practice which was there in most of the Commonwealth countries, if you will see. So what used to happen is that in the Commonwealth countries, this is a legacy which was used. It was also a part of culture. They used to say that it's a part of culture. And Sri Lanka was one of the first countries which banned ragging in their country, and lately followed by India. Similarly, in India also you will find a lot of states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal. They have also banned ragging in their educational institutions, and later it came for pan-India by the Supreme Court's decision. Now, in this part of the lecture, what we will be dealing is that what are the types of ragging which used to take place in our country, and how it used to affect the people. Now, before we go with what are the types of ragging which used to take place, let us try to understand that why ragging was banned. Ragging used to cause a lot of dropouts. So a lot of students will leave the educational institution because of the fear of ragging. So they used to come to the educational institution, they used to join, they used to start studying, but then they cannot take the pressure of ragging, and then they used to leave. So this was one of the problems. Then there were physical ailments. A lot of students used to be hospitalized because they were beaten, they went through any kind of torture in the name of fun. But then they used to be hospitalized. They sometimes their hands used to break or legs used to break, or they even had so many other things. Then a lot of students also commit suicides because of ragging. Also, a lot of murders took place because of ragging. So this was the situation. Then a lot of students were raped or molested. So this was another reason that ragging was banned. So ultimately, the goal of education, that is to make it accessible to people, was challenged, because even if students were meriting, or they were having the capacity to be educated in for higher education, but they could not sustain the pressure. They it was a very sorry state of affairs at that point of time, say before the 2001 era. So if you see, before 2001, there used to be a lot of ragging, a lot of things used to take place, and therefore this decision has to come. So all these things were big problems, and because of that, ragging has to be banned. Now, in order to understand that what used to take place, that in the name of ragging, and then ragging was not also considered as a criminal offense, because people used to say that it's because of fun, students are enjoying, and this and that, so no criminal prosecution can take place, or it will not be considered as a criminal offense. The police also was a little bit reluctant in, say, taking it as a case, right? They will not register a case against somebody, because they will say, oh, it is something which is happening in the colleges, it's in the name of culture and so on. So people used to face a lot of problems because of that. But now, because there is ban on ragging, so it is taken as a criminal offense. If suppose somebody behaves in an inappropriate way with another individual, so it will be considered as a criminal offense, and the case can be registered, and punitive actions can be taking place, or they can be awarded with some kind of punishments and so on. So that was the case. Now, what are the types of ragging is something which I will be discussing on this part, and then we will be discussing a few more things in the next part of the lecture. So let us start with what are the types of ragging. Now, if you see the types of ragging, usually they were mostly physical. But let us start with a very basic one. Introduction, or in very popular terms, it used to be called as intro, or formal intro. Now, what is this? Let us try to understand that. What is this formal intro? It sounds very normal that it is an introduction. That means a student will be asked, what is your name, from where do you belong, what was your pass percentage, what are your hobbies, and this and that. But it never used to be like that. On the other hand, and surprisingly, it used to be filled with abuses, slangs, inappropriate language usage. And if you hear that, I will put a link of what kind of formal intro was there in the description part, so you yourself will go and see that what was something which used to go through, like a person who is coming from a cultured family, a person who is coming from school and may not be using a lot of slangs, lot of abuses and this and that, has to go through the whole format. It was a format which you have to remember. You have to remember by heart, and you have to speak it in front of a lot of people. There will be girls, there will be boys, and irrespective of the fact that you are a boy or a girl, you have to say all these things. And it used to be very, very derogatory by nature, very, very unbelievable by nature, but then people have to say. So this was one thing which people used to do, and it was something which was very, very unacceptable in civic society and a civilized sense. But people have to go through all these things, and there were a lot of shame which was associated with that. The next form of ragging is called as dress code. Dress code ragging. Now, what is dress code ragging? Dress code ragging is basically that the first year students or the freshmen do not have the right to wear casuals. They have to wear formals, but then there is no problem with wearing formals. But there is a certain way of wearing the formals. You cannot wear a belt if you are a male student. So you cannot wear a belt. You cannot keep a pen. You have to wear blacks and whites. Usually that was the practice. You have to wear formals. You cannot do a lot of things. Your hairs must be cut short up to a level that it may not be acceptable to you. uh, and there were also a lot of other things which was associated with dress code, and you have to follow that. You also have to stand in a very proper way, you have to talk also in a very proper way. Apart from formal intro, you cannot use other kind of things or language. You have to be very different from what you are, naturally speaking. So that was the way. So it took away the freedom of choice from an individual, that whether he or she can wear as per his or her choice. That was not there. And it also used to be a little bit derogatory. I can again share some links of students who used to be in their first year, and how they used to wear clothes. The same used to be for girls as well. They also were asked to wear certain things, and were disallowed to wear certain other things. So that used to be also a little bit unacceptable to a lot of people, because again, it is not by choice, it is by force. So that was something which was unacceptable. But okay, this one was quite derogatory by nature. This is quite okay, I will say, because it's not something which is very degrading. Then physical abuse. Now physical abuse can be of any type. Mm, you can be beaten at will. You may not even have committed anything which is against the, say, rules and regulations. There used to be, whenever you will enter the college or the university in the first year, you will be pronounced with or you will be pronounced certain rules and regulations to be followed. So you have to follow those rules accordingly, right? But then it may happen that even if you are following the rules and regulations, still you can be beaten at wish or will. And these beatings are not like, there used to be something called general ragging. In general ragging, the GR, we used to say it. So in GR or general ragging, people used to be beaten like vegetables, like anything. You have no idea about that. So you will be slapped, say 50 times on one cheek only, then it can be on another side. You can be also beaten by a stick. You can be asked to run. You can be asked to do certain kind of physical exercises which is not possible for you, maybe, and so on. And till the time you break down, till the time you cry, till the time the blood comes out, and so on. So this used to be very inhuman by nature. But then they were torturing students, because they have to create some kind of aura or some kind of environment for them. So physical abuse was one of them. Then mental abuse, I will call it mental abuse, because there used to be a lot of psychological and mental abuse which used to take place. So people were asked to do certain things which they will not do it normally, or they will be told certain things which are not acceptable. They will be asked to prove certain things which are not provable, or they will be asked to solve certain riddles, and so on. And it used to come out with a lot of abuse and lot of verbal, I will say, abuse. Because of that, people used to feel very uncomfortable. And it is not only like mental abuse is like, they will be also telling you certain things, speaking certain things, playing certain things, like you can be asked to do something which is against your belief or practices, but you have to do it. Like in physical abuse also, there can be a mixture of physical and mental abuse as well, right? So those things are also there. I can also add psychological things which used to take place over here. So they were asked to solve or prove certain things which are not provable or solvable. And if you are not proving or solving, so you will be say termed as a nitwit, or you do not understand certain things. You are your IQ is low, and you are told all these things in front of a lot of people. And people used to make fun of you. And they will also ask you to sing or dance, which you may not be able to do it. So it can also be the combination of these two things. And if you are not able to do it, then they will also make a lot of fun of you. So if you will see, these things used to take place a lot. In fact, the movie Chichore and the movie Three Idiots have given a glimpse of what used to be ragging, though it is a very censored version of ragging. The uncensored version of ragging is not even acceptable. It cannot come out, I guess so, in a video form. But it used to be very, very difficult for first year students, and especially girls, to take these kind of things. Uh, if you talk about women or girls, so there used to be molestation as well as rape of some kind of sexual abuse, as well as rapes and so on of students in the name of ragging. And that was the worst part of it, because students were so they used to fear their seniors so much that they can always be molested, they can be sexually abused, they sometimes were even raped. And the environment was very, very inhuman by nature, especially for girl students. So these kind of things also used to take place, and it used to be very difficult for a normal student to go through all these things. I may not even name all these things, but the situation was something which was very, very unacceptable. Then there was something called hostel ragging as well. This is a special type of ragging, because if you are a hostler, if you are not a day boarder but rather a hostler, then ragging goes 24 hours, right? Even if you are sleeping in your hostel room, you will not be allowed to sleep, you will not be allowed to study, you will be asked to do certain things which you will not like to do, and so on. The hostel ragging used to be the worst part of ragging, where you were treated as a slave, and you will be asked to do anything and everything which you may not even do it for the rest of your life, but you have to do it right now, or you have to do it at the point of time when they are saying that you have to do this or that. So that also used to be the case. Then something like playing the fool, it's nothing but a kind of game or thing which can be associated with mental ragging, can be associated with physical ragging, can also be associated with psychological ragging. And they used to make fun of you a lot, and they will ask you to do certain things which were absolutely impossible or difficult. And every time you will be in a situation where it is traumatic, difficult to sustain, difficult to manage, and so on. And the seniors used to be the god, and you are the slave of them, and they will make you do a lot of things which are even unbelievable. So this was more or less the types of ragging which used to take place. There are other types of ragging as well, but maybe this is not the place, or this is not the situation where I may like to tell you about all those things, but maybe we can discuss a few of them in the class as well. But mostly these are the types of ragging which used to take place, and therefore it became mandatory, or it became an imperative for the Supreme Court of India, because the situation in educational institutions were getting from bad to worse. And a lot of complaints were lodged, a lot of students committed suicide, a lot of dropouts took place, a lot of students got medically unfit, they were beaten, their hands, their legs, there's so many things were broken. um, and a lot of students even lost their mental balance. So given that situation, or that situation became so bad, and the situation became so difficult at that point of time, that ultimately the decision has to be taken that ragging has to be banned on from all the educational institutions in India, and the onus is now on the educational institutions to curb ragging of any form in their campuses or in their vicinities, because without that this ragging cannot be controlled. So you will be seeing a lot of anti-ragging squads, anti-ragging committees formed in the colleges, in the institutions. There are helpline numbers where you can call if there is any problem, or if somebody is ragging you, or somebody is even disturbing you because education should be accessible to people. Students should get the right to study, and if they have come for studies, they should not leave studies because of non-academic reasons, right? So this is a non-academic reason for which students used to drop out, or students used to leave, or students used to face so much of difficulties, and that should not be the case. So in the next part of the lecture, what we will be discussing is why people rag, and banning ragging in educational institutions has definitely served certain purposes, but it has also created some problems, maybe something which you are still not knowing or may not be understanding, but you need to know that as well. Thank you.